Recently, I heard from my friend Zoe. She told me that her brother, Tom, and his girlfriend Lisa had a really frightening experience. It was late one night and they were coming home from a party. They were way out country when Tom realised that they had a flat tyre. Lisa was asleep, so Tom got out and he began changing the tyre. He was halfway through it though when he realised that everything around him had gone deathly quiet. This real deep sense of unease began to creep down his spine. He felt as if something very unpleasant, something very harmful, had him in its sights and it was eyeing him up, just waiting for its next move. Tom got really nervous and he tried to hurry things along, but he was getting flustered. Things were going wrong. He'd never had any trouble before in changing tyres. Just then, this really putrid stench hit him and he wanted to gag. It was really disgusting. Looking up, he could see the outline of this coyote shape. It was standing upright like a human. It was about 10 metres away. He said his blood just turned to ice. Lisa was Navajo, so she had told him all about skinwalkers and he knew what to expect. Just then Lisa had woken up and she got out of the vehicle and began shouting at it in Navajo, telling it to go away and leave them alone. Tom said he felt rooted to the spot. He wanted to get into the vehicle, but he couldn't move. He was just transfixed looking at that thing. As it was moving closer and closer towards him, he could see it more clearly now. Tom remembers Lisa screaming at him, saying, "Tom, just stop looking at it and get into the van before it reaches us." Just then a carload of people pulled up. They were friends from the party. "Hey, what's up?" someone called. "Are you guys okay?" Looking up again, Tom saw that the skinwalker had gone. He quickly changed the tyre and thanked their friends, and then they sped home very relieved but still very shaken up. Second story. When I was 13, my friends and I decided to do something really stupid and play with a ouija board. There were 4 of us at the time. We went into an old abandoned barn to do it as we were living in a rural area. My friend, let's call her Samantha, who was 2 years older than the rest of us, was asking the spirit all these questions about her future. Like, was she going to marry this guy Tony, who she was so in love with at the time? He was this jock in high school she'd been dating. The planchette instantly went to no, much to her disappointment and disgust. Some of us were getting quite impatient though, as Sam was asking all the questions and not giving any of us a turn. Then the planchette began to do all these weird twists and turns and it wasn't making much sense. Years later, I realised chillingly that they were figure 8s, which meant demonic activity. I still feel really quite chilled out when I think about it. I began to feel really sick and dizzy, yet I'd been fine a few minutes earlier. I looked at my friend Georgie, who was also pale and looking really ill. Sam was asking how many kids she was going to have, and the planchette went to 3. And then it did more figure 8s. Then the planchette spelt out, "Son, die horrible death. Ha, ha, ha." Then it kept going to the number 2. 3 times it went to the number 2. After that we closed the circle and left the board in the barn. We decided we'd had enough. Also it was getting quite dark and all of us were feeling quite creeped out, so we went back to Sam's house and watched movies for the rest of the evening. None of us gave it any thought after that, and none of us played with the board again. Well, I know I certainly didn't anyway. I kept in touch with most of my friends, including Sam. Sam did get married and she went to live in South Auckland. The area she lived in was quite dodgy. There was a lot of gangs. Then 6 months ago, I heard from her. I heard that her 2-year-old son, her second born, had toddled over to their neighbour's yard, where he was savaged to death by 2 pit bulls that had got loose. He died in front of his horrified parents before the medics could reach them. It was really devastating.